What's going on, everybody? This is John Jank Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with the Week 9 action here for the inaugural season of this FCS Dynasty universe as we once again march into the latter stages of the regular season. Got some great content, got some great conference races for you guys that are only going to heat up as the season progresses. So it's going to be a really action-packed episode, which I hope you guys are really excited for. If you are, make sure you go ahead, smash that like button for me. Hit that subscribe button as well if you happen to be brand new to the channel, as we will jump into the first of 8 games that will be featured in this episode. New Hampshire coming in ranked number 9 in the country, taking on fellow conference opponent North Carolina A&T, and they are looking for that upset bid as they pick off Carlos Montoya on literally the very first pass of this game. And just beautiful coverage, trying to get it out to the star receiver Willie Patterson. But unfortunately for the Aggies, they cannot do anything with it. And that connection to Willie Patterson, that is something really special, man. One of the best players in college football, at least down here at the FCS level for sure. Hopefully he gets this shot to get an opportunity to play at the NFL level, but we'll just have to wait and see. But as of right now, Carlos Montoya, he's doing a really great job leading the troops downfield, setting up a goal line situation inside the 5, as we'll see if Carlos Montoya can bring him in, and sure enough he does. Touchdown, New Hampshire. And we will see the Wildcats strike first, and in few minutes we see New Hampshire take a 7-0 lead. As now later on in the first quarter, the Wildcats, they actually had another opportunity there to get some points in the end zone, but Carlos Montoya, man, throwing a second interception. This is definitely unlike him. I will tell you what, ever since we got into conference play, he hasn't necessarily been himself, for being honest with you guys. He's thrown 6 interceptions, all of them in ACC conference play. But, I mean, he's still putting up, like, gaudy stats. Like, he's still doing extremely well. So, I mean, you always got that going. But, just an observation. Something that I've noticed here as we get into 3rd and 10 from the 17-yard line. Montoya looking towards the end zone again. Going to try to throw it over to William Patterson, but it's picked off again. Carlos Montoya came into this game with 4 interceptions thrown on the year. He's thrown 3 of them in the first half, and it makes you beg the question, this is still a really close and really tightly contested game. Is this going to be one of those games where are we going to possibly see Carlos Montoya being benched? And speaking of interceptions, that's a 4th one. 4 interceptions for this defense. So surely Scott Martinez and this Aggies offense got to do something, right? Like, they haven't really moved the ball at all. Less than 60 yards of total offense here, but a nice reverse play to get this defense off balance. And all of a sudden, things are all knotted up here. Maybe a little bit of an upset alert here in this first half, as we played a half of football and things are still all knotted up until Willie Patterson does something about it, going one-on-one against the best defender that the Aggies had and mosses him. And that DB was in pretty good position as well. That's the crazy part. Like, he had the inside leverage. That's where you want to be, for those types of throws. And Willie Patterson still finds a way to win it. Not to mention, they're also going to that running game as well, with Carlos Montoya, struggling with turnovers a little bit, and they can run the football when asked to, when that is called upon. So a 2-touchdown lead here in the second half, although forced to punt the ball away. North Carolina A&T trying to return this thing, but Henderson fumbles the bag. And now you just gave one of the best offenses in college football a chance to score quickly, and they are going to quickly cash in on that opportunity. Touchdown pass thrown by Carlos Montoya. That's the 3rd touchdown for the junior quarterback. So 28-7 lead here as we get into the fourth quarter of action, as Martinez facing some intense pressure and is going to be sacked for a loss. That was actually fourth down. They had to go for it, but unfortunately Scott Martinez just didn't have the time, and when trying to run out that clock, they get a little bit of style points instead here, as we end up seeing a 58-yard touchdown run towards the end of this game. So this was one of those games, it was a little bit closer than, what we originally anticipated. Thought it was going to be a little bit more of a complete blowout, but, North Carolina A&T, they hung tough here. Their defense did literally everything that it could. It got 5 turnovers in the game. You can't ask for much more from your defense, but despite winning the turnover battle in a really convincing way, they still end up getting blown out. They lose by 4 touchdowns here, in conference play, and New Hampshire is going to go ahead. They are going to remain undefeated here in this first season of the FCS Dynasty. And really the biggest difference was, who moved the ball and who didn't. North Carolina A&T, they only managed 160 yards of total offense, whereas New Hampshire had over 350. And it's just not a winning formula, no matter what you do on that defensive end. So the game of the week actually comes a little bit early in this episode, as we see the Tulane Green Wave taking on the UCF Golden Knights, as we see both teams getting ready to take the field. A solid top 15 matchup. I'm actually kind of surprised that this ended up being the game of the week, because I thought there was another matchup that's going to appear later in this episode that I thought, would be a little bit more marquee, a little bit better ranked teams. But that being said, the week or so, going to be rocking with the Golden Knights here as we get game number 2 underway, as we will see Jack Irvin under center. He's going to try to throw a huge rainbow ball downfield. He hits his receiver for the completion, but his guy does end up fumbling the football away. So a huge throw from Jack Irvin means absolutely nothing, as they still come away with 0 points there. But you might see our first point scored in this game specifically, though, as we will see an interception from Tyrone Matthews, who gets Tulane out on inside the 5-yard line to get things started out. So we'll see if the Green Wave can go ahead and cash things in, as Irvin does roll to the right. He's looking for a receiver to throw the ball to, but then ends up getting intercepted. So Tulane starts inside the 5-yard line and can't capitalize. Matter of fact, they don't come away with a singular point despite starting in a goal line situation. Just an absolutely tough deal to deal with, man. So you hate to see it. Game is still all tied up at 0-0, but maybe we'll see one of these teams crack. I'm not sure. Neither team, actually, to be honest with you guys, both teams really seems like they're trying to lose this game, right? So got that going, as it's now a still all knotted up at 0, still looking for the first points of the game, and it's another turnover. Got another turnover on the ball at the 42-yard line. And finally, we see Tulane capitalize. They get a field goal out of it, and it's a 3-0 game. The Green Wave get the lead, but yeah, man, neither team wanting to win this game, as there's been turnovers galore. We're not even done with the first half yet. We got 7 turnovers in this game right now. It's been absolutely insane. The Green Wave will eventually get a field goal after that whole toboggle, as it's still a 1-possession game. But UCF, we got yet another interception here, as that's going to be turnover number 5 for the Golden Knights already. So an opportunity to finally get a touchdown on board. Maybe we'll get a scoring play, and sure enough we do, as Jack Irvin throws a beautiful ball in the back of the end zone. Touchdown Green Wave there in that circumstance. In a 2-possession game here prior to going to the half, we'll see if the Golden Knights can play a little bit better, but it's simply not their today. When you turn the ball over 6 times, I mean, it's just not excusable. Like there's not really much that you could do there, as Tulane starts to pull away here a little bit. Now 16-0 before we do see the University of Central Florida finally find their way into the end zone. It was a tough look to see, but now 19-7 here, is now looking down the right hand side, gonna go ahead and throw a ball into the end zone, and Jack Irvin is gonna get his second touchdown of the day here with a couple minutes left in this ball game. And the Lee Corso curse kind of continuing here, as we've seen at least the vast majority of times in the game of the week where we have seen Lee Corso pick which team he wants to, or at least he thinks will end up winning the game. Most of the time they don't end up winning the game, it seems like, and that was the case here today, as Tulane, they're able to get on the road, get a good marquee upset victory, beating a top 15 ranked Central Florida squad, as the difference was really those turnovers at the end of the day. You know, when you turn the ball over 6-7 times, it doesn't matter how explosive your offense is or how incredible your defense is. Shoot, you could have the Georgia defense for all I care about, but when you turn the ball over 6 times, you're not winning any games. So this was the game that I was referring to, that I was actually surprised did not get named the player of the, or at least the game of the week, as we check in on this critical matchup between the Ball State Cardinals and the Ohio Bobcats. Two teams that are both in the top 25 and both coming in with relatively impressive records, going in at 5-1 on the year, as we might be checking out one of the better running backs in college football, Matt Smith, who's having himself a pretty good campaign so far and is keeping his team in that postseason title hunt. As we now go ahead and jump right into one of the first plays of the game. Matter of fact, the second play of the game, where quarterback Danny Graves trying to get it out to a star receiver, but instead he gets a touchdown for the other team, as Ball State is going to jump on the Ohio Bobcats early on the road, taking a 7-0 lead early. But the Bobcats will respond early as they get a nice throw in the back of the end zone. Nice touchdown pass and really nice leaping ability as well, as Danny Graves does a beautiful job with that play action pass to the right hand side, as the Bobcats will go ahead. They will snag the lead. There was that running back that we were talking about, man, Matt Smith. He is an absolute mauler, able to bulldoze his way into the end zone as well. As now 14-7 game here, Ball State, they do have the football, but that being said though, Ohio is going to actually go ahead and get their very first interception of this game, and it comes in a critical moment as well, as Graves gets his troops to the line. It's 2nd and inches. Graves looks towards the end zone, and he finds the big burly tight end. Touchdown Bobcats, and another play action that sets up yet another touchdown, as Ohio leaping out to a 21-7 lead. But this is, we're not saying that it's over, but it's certainly not looking good, as Robert Dawson does end up coming down the interception, but he does also end up injuring his shoulder a little bit, so you absolutely hate to see that. Hopefully he's okay. He did come with a mild concussion, so probably won't see him for the remainder of this one, as Ball State looks to rally back here with 30 seconds left in the first half. An absolute nuclear missile sent down to the back of the end zone, but Adam Holman gonna get his first interception of this game, and a 2-touchdown lead continues to be prevailed as of right now. But a little bit of luck there, as check out how this goes down. It was actually really good coverage. DB did a great job of, batting the ball away. Unfortunately, that ball was batted right into the hands of a receiver. And the Cardinals actually get a chance to take the lead here late in this game. They were just down by 4 points. They almost managed to go ahead and pull the comeback, but it was not enough. They fell just short. In Ball State, man, they are going to go ahead and take their second loss here of the season. And Ohio, they're going to celebrate with their coach. This is a huge win for their football program as it keeps them deep in that hunt for the MAC Conference Championship at the end of the season. And again, winning your conference, man, it's going to have some additional postseason ramifications. So, definitely important to win your conference in this FCS series. If you know, right? But that being said, though, Ohio notches their 6th win in the year. A little bit of a uglier game. Didn't see a ton of offense. Just 450 yards between the two teams at the end of the day. And those 4 turnovers that were forced by the Bobcats defense is the ultimate difference maker. So we check in now on one of our custom coaches, Coach Owen Benfield, who is in charge of the Western Carolina Catamounts, as we go in on some Big 12 action here against the Southern Jaguars on the road. Now, Southern got a really big win last week against Alabama State that does propel them on top of their division, but they are sharing that lead with Western Carolina. So really big game here between these two teams, as whoever does end up winning this ball game, they are going to be in the driver's seat to go to the Big 12 championship game at the conclusion of the regular season. So definitely some big stakes here between both these teams. We'll see how Benfield's guys go ahead and rally up. And how about this? Knowing what the moment is required, how about this touchdown throw? A quarterback had time in the pocket, able to find his receiver, and gets it to one of the better receivers in the conference, as Western Carolina going to take a 7-0 lead here early, but also the defense going to stand tall, as Peter Martinez going to get the interception as well. Just the 2nd interception thrown by Mike Hill all year long now, as it's a 10-0 lead here for the Catamounts, and a lead that will continue to grow, looks like, as we got a foot race down the sideline. He ends up getting caught due to a perfect angle being taken, as Mike Williams out here having a really good first half so far. He already has more receiving yards than what he's averaged on the year, and they go to him again, kind of to reward him for that long reception that he had earlier in the drive. The jet sweep, giving the Catamounts a 17-0 lead, as now quarterback going to go ahead and throw downfield, but Southern's going to get a little bit of a start here. Matthew Dawson, who's already got a couple of tackles, also gets the INT, and maybe Southern can finally find themselves on the board. The Jaguars looking to roar back, as the Southern finally gets on the board, and the Bayou is certainly rocking right now. It's now cut down to a 10-point game, as we're getting into the final 90 seconds of this first half. Catamounts with a chance to go ahead and possibly extend this lead here, as that is a beautiful pass. Nice little double move as well to create just enough space. Whoever quarterback is comfortable enough with throwing that pass. But 4th down coming up for the Catamounts, as they're in that dead zone where it wouldn't make sense to punt the football, but they're also out of field goal range, so that's why they go for it. And the bold strategy does indeed work out for Cotton, as that now provides the Catamounts with their 3rd red zone opportunity of the day. And how about free for free, as Southern just didn't have the bodies on that side of the field. I'm not sure if they were in man-to-man or there was a breakdown in zone coverage, but either way, easy touchdown for the Catamounts, as it ends up being a 24-7 lead here. As now we jump into the 3rd quarter, yet another touchdown being thrown. A lot of offense from the Catamounts in this one, as going to be a pretty commanding lead for Western Carolina, as Mike Hill looks to try to lead the charge back. So he got a play action, finds his star receiver, who does make a couple of guys miss, as Mike Hill gets one of his first positive plays. He's been shut down so far. They've been sending a ton of pressure his way, so they counter it using the screens for the wide receiver, and it works out to perfection. Southern going to go ahead and going for the 2-point conversion. This will make this a 2-possession game, but it's going to be deflected away. So a 4-play, 78-yard drive for the Jaguars, but they only managed to get 6 points, and it will remain a 3-possession game because of it. As now the Catamounts taken back on the field once again, finding his star receiver in Mike Williams. He's just having that kind of day. He is a bad man. Somebody better go grab his mama, because there goes that man. Huge touchdown throw as a 38-13 lead for the Catamounts in what could be a de facto divisional championship game. We never know how the rest of the season can turn out, but so far, Southern got a lot of work to do if they want to perform a once-in-a-lifetime comeback, as that huge play down the sideline gonna help. But can they punch it in? 3rd down. Mike looks towards the end zone, and his receiver makes an absolutely incredible diving play as Mike Hill throws his 2nd touchdown of the ball game. And this time they actually do not go for 2 points. So 3-possession game. Southern down by 18. And if they want to come back, they got to find a way to stop this offense. They have really not done a very good job of that all day long, but still plenty of time to maybe right this ship, but gotta be perfect from here on out. But Western Carolina snags themselves yet another score on the scoreboard, as Ford he made it simple, man. Just followed the blocks, and it looks like Western Carolina, they're gonna come out here, they're gonna win this game, a very important game for Western Carolina, as Owen Benfield's guys win big. They improved to 4-3 on the year, winning by a final score of 48-20. And not only does it mean that the Catamounts are going to improve over 500, but it does also mean that they get to be in the driver's seat for the Division 12 division that they are currently in. So they have sole possession of first place. You know, some other teams will probably still need to play to make sure that is confirmed, and that is the case. But as of right in this very moment, Western Carolina sits alone at the top. So some exciting action here for sure, as this is the first time that we haven't seen any blowouts to this point. You know, or at least not to the point where we got to go ahead and stop the recording and you know, see the backups come in. Like, nothing like that. But there's another team out there that's pretty close to getting into the top 25, and that's Tennessee Martin, the Skyhawks, who come in 5-2 overall and tied for first place as well in the new look Big Ten Conference. But they're going to go up against a pretty feisty team in Eastern Illinois. They are under 500, sitting at 2-4, but what I found with these conference games ever since we've really drove in to conference action is that it tends to be a case where the conference games are a lot closer than the non-conference games. So, hey, you never know what could happen. Not saying that Eastern Illinois is going to outright pull the upset, but, you know, Tennessee Martin, they got some big games on their schedule for the remainder of the season. They still got to play against Tennessee State, who's up there as well. So they might be overlooking Eastern Illinois, and they found out on the opening drive that, hey, don't count us out, man. We are the same, you know, cloth of bread as Tony Romo, Jimmy G. You know, like, we produce NFL talent. Don't play with our offense, but defensively, that is where the challenge is going to be, particularly who's going to stop this running back. This running back is extremely talented. Gave Southeast Missouri State some problems. They were able to pull it out, but this running back gave them severe problems, and if they're not careful, he's going to run all over this defense. But the Skyhawks with a 10-7 lead here with 2:50 left to play in the first half, as they set up some kind of, oh my, they try to set up a trick play, and it goes horribly as Dante Kelly gets the interception, and the running back should have went about throwing that pass away, but he chose not to do that. Not a good look there whatsoever, as now you know, you give Tennessee Martin, you know, an extra possession. Although it is still a 3-point game here. Eastern Illinois, though, they might be taking this all the way back for a turnover of their own. And sure enough, they do. Lonnie Campbell with not only an interception, but a pick six there. That gives Eastern Illinois the lead. And watch out, Eastern Illinois on upset alert against the Tennessee Skyhawks. As the Panthers with a 14-10 lead, taking a huge sack though. So 3rd and long from the 40-yard line. Need a lot of yards here to pick up this first down. And sure enough, they're going to get it and a bunch more. Almost getting to the end zone. The super dive cheese kind of preventing the score from happening. But now easily in field goal range here. As we got 1st and goal from the 7. Going to hand it off to the tailback and give credit to that offensive line because they created some big holes in that defense. And now in serious trouble. Down by 2 scores. Less than a minute left to play here. Score remained the same throughout the majority of the 4th quarter. As Tennessee Martin does end up going ahead. They go for 2. They end up getting it. So it brings it down to a field goal. And it all comes down to an onside kick. But Eastern Illinois is going to recover, and they can't force the fumble. So what that ends up meaning is that Tennessee Martin drops their 3rd game of the season, and Eastern Illinois, they complete the upset. They improved to 3-4 right there, and that's a huge win for this football team, as it helps them, you know, make sure that they still have a chance to at least get over 500 and maybe playing a little bit of spoiler now, as well as Tennessee Martin can no longer be, at least as of right now, in the driver's seat to go out and be on top of the Big Ten. They're going to need help now. So one team that we haven't really seen since week number 2, but it's been gaining some attention in the AP polls recently is Montana, the Grizzlies. At 5-2, they're going to be playing host to Weber State, and we have one of the more colder games of the year, only in the 40s. As Montana is technically in 1st place, they're up by half a game against North Dakota State, which obviously those 2 teams will still need to go up and play up against each other. As we'll go ahead and check out Jeff Neal here. Pretty good running back. Doesn't have a ton of yards, less than 600 yards rushing, but those 11 touchdowns, those are up there, you know, in terms of rushing TDs over the course of the year. So that's a huge guy that's we're definitely going to need to watch over. But Weber State came with a plan, man. They want to try to put the air, you know, out of the football. This is still, by the way, the first drive of the game. There hasn't been many big plays until, you know, at least right about now, which is, you know, just a beautiful drop in the bucket, by the way. And we're still on the first drive. Sean Washington with a chance to give his guys a 7-0 lead. And sure enough, they're going to be able to cash in. So Weber State gets the touchdown. And they take the lead here in the 1st quarter. But what does Montana do? Casually get it out to receiver. Turns into a foot race. And it is gone. And this has to be a little bit depressing too. You spend all that time. You take away half of the 1st quarter. Moving this ball downfield, moving, you know, with a real methodicalness about it. And then Montana, 1-play score, it's a touchdown. Makes it look really easy too. We're still auto knotted up at 7 apiece as Weber State can't respond, but their defense can. How about that linebacker though? With the spin, Sean Southall dropped a spin move in there. You don't see that every day. Just be able to, he was waiting for that interception too. He's been wanting to do that. So now Weber State starts off in field goal range here, and definitely an opportunity to go ahead and take an early lead. As we get into the early stages of the 2nd quarter, Sean Washington, he's going to throw this thing out to the left, and it's going to be a touchdown for the Wildcats. So we seen the last game end up being an upset. If Montana falls though, oh man, if Montana falls, this would be the biggest upset of the year. Is look at this, Weber State sending a message early, 21-7, as Sean Washington, this quarterback for the Wildcats, he's feeling himself, man, and he's getting time in the pocket to dissect this defense. So the Grizzlies desperately need a score as they get it out to their tailback, who fumbles the ball, and look who's there to recover. It's Sean Southall again, able to recover the fumble, and that's just a really tough look, fumbling the football. Weber State able to come out with a field goal. So if you're in Montana, you really got to come out here and get yourself some points on the board before we go into the halftime locker room. You do at least get the ball to start the second half, but this is not how you want to start this game, especially when you have intentions and you have this goal of winning the Pac-10 conference. You can't do stuff like this, right? But Eddie Jones, give credit to him. He finds his receiver in the back of the end zone, kind of has to moss his defender a little bit, so that's more in the receiver than anything. But Montana only down by 10, so they're still in this game despite weathering the storm early from the Wildcats. As the running back gets loose, he's got some serious speed with it as well. He's going to be stunning on him. No, he's just going to run it in, make sure nobody catches up to him. And did Montana need that or what? Wow, that was much needed. They really needed that on their side right now. So this is really a gut check for Weber State, as on this drive, Sean Washington does get hurt, so Joe Davis has to come into the game now. And what has Joe Davis done? He throws another touchdown. So that's a really nice job on the gut check by Weber State. So now it's all up to the defense to keep that same intensity that they have in the first half, because that's what they need. Those turnovers like that, third turnover of the day, by the way, might be able to put them away, get it up 3 possessions and really put some distance between you and the other guys. But look at this run. Look at him. He had defenders all around him, and he somehow managed to get out of it. I don't know how he pulled it off, but I'm really glad he did, though. Just as a neutral broadcaster, neutral commentator, of course, I'll have a dog in this fight. I'm just here to provide you with that special entertainment, right? But Dante Ingram, he comes big here. His team was still down by 3, and Weber State was even able to run some time off the clock, but they decide to pass the football, which I don't know why you would do that. You got them right where you want them, and now an interception puts them 10 yards away from taking the lead, and sure enough, they're going to cash in. Touchdown, Montana. And with 1:42 left to play, the Grizzlies taking their very first lead of this ball game. Eddie Jones, certified bad man. So now Joe Davis, who is still in this game, Sean Washington is still hurt. He has to come out here and lead a game-winning drive. And as the backup quarterback, he just wasn't able to do it. This Dante Ingram, who, by the way, did not have a single interception coming into this game. He was, he had some tackles, he had some sacks, obviously, but interceptions, didn't have any of that until we got into this game specifically. And now, all of a sudden, Dante Ingram comes out here, 2 interceptions, and this game might be put away. We'll have to see what the Wildcats do. If they can score quickly, though, they have 2 timeouts. They might have time for an onside kick and, still rally back, but it's not going to be easy as Joe Davis finds a receiver deep downfield. It's Ross Griffin who's able to come down with the catch, and that's going to give this either wide receiver or tight end. He's wearing 42, so I'm assuming tight end, right? But, he has over 100 yards on the day, but it's all not meant to be, as another turnover in the back of the end zone. Weber State had a chance to win this game. They really did. But it looks like they're going to be fumbling the bag here. And now all that there is left is just, running out the rest of this clock. And look at this. They start off on the 1-yard line. And one of the longest touchdowns in the NCAA probably ever. No one's going to be able to break the record, obviously. But it's a 99-yard touchdown, right? Like, you're part of the record book. It doesn't happen very often. But Montana escapes with a win here in conference play. So they now have a 1-game lead over North Dakota State for the top of the Pac-10. I really do think if the starting quarterback Sean Washington stays healthy and is in there for the entirety of the game, I think Weber State wins personally. But since the backup was in there, backup throws 3 interceptions, and that's what cost them the upset bid. So great game by Montana. That was a lot of resiliency, but they also got a little bit lucky, and sometimes it's better to be lucky than it is to be good. So we now check in on some more Pac-10 action that does happen to be on national TV. We got North Dakota State, which it took them long enough to do this, but they are finally in the top 25. They're in at number 25 of the country, so they're in there now, and they get to go on the road, go to the capital of California to take on Sacramento State. Now, Sacramento State, they've been having a little bit of a rougher time here in season number 1 of this FCS Dynasty, but that being said, though, I like their uniforms. I'm not going to lie to you. Those uniforms kind of nice. I can see why my boy Kaz Gaming used Sacramento State a couple of times for his series, particularly in NCAA basketball. But that being said, we'll go ahead and jump right into the action here as North Dakota State getting that running game going early as that bruiser, Lonnie Smith, bad man, gets a pitch from Brian Alexander, breaks 1 tackle, 2 tackles, almost a 3rd tackle, not quite 3 tackles. But North Dakota State, man, doing a great job in the red zone. Top 10 in the country when it comes to garnering red zone points. As Brian Alexander tosses it to the right, he's got the blocks. But wait a minute, he fumbles it and Sacramento State recovers. Wow, a rare mistake from the Bison there. As usually they don't make those kinds of mistakes, especially since the Sacramento State defense and why they are towards the bottom right now, 2-4, and one of the, if not the only team, one of very few teams in the conference that doesn't have a single win. This defense is not good for Sacramento State. They have not been good this year. You just gotta call it a buck, right? Like, I call it how it is. They have been trash. But right now, and we saw it on that run there as well. Huge run, makes it 7-0. So now Chase Graham gotta put the team on his back a little bit, but he gets just absolutely massacred. Didn't have time to really process the defense on that play action. The Bison certainly not fooled by that whatsoever, as Adam Morrison able to blow up Chase Graham, and the Bison are able to come out here to get a field goal. It's a 10-0 lead. But we get into the last 90 seconds of this first half as Chase Graham, he's going to throw a dot over the middle and hang on. Third upset alerts, possibly? Because we're less than 2 minutes left in this first half. It's only a 3-point game. We're talking about North Dakota State, which on paper, does at least have like the most talented team. I mean, it's an FCS Dynasty. North Dakota State being great, had to be like that. It is what it is. But North Dakota State, they immediately respond. They get a huge touchdown of their own. So that makes it 17-7. And we'll see if Brian Alexander and company able to keep it up. Lonnie Smith, man, bouncing it to the outside. And he gets some huge yardage out of it. As Leroy Smith, look at this. Sacramento State had him bottled up, but they can't wrap him up. He's able to eventually bounce it out to the outside there as well. And now a red zone opportunity for North Dakota State, which they are going to cash in on as their tailback. They use like 2 or 3 running backs, man. I don't see like a lot of other teams doing this, but they also have the depth to pull this off. So, take that with a grain of salt. But needless to say, North Dakota State, they are pulling away 24-7, as even Brian Alexander is going to get in the act a little bit. He's a smart quarterback and all, but you saw on that run, he's not the most athletic runner by really any stretch of the imagination, right? Like, that's the crazy part in all of this. But Sacramento State, they do some things positive. They kept it competitive. You got to give them credit for that for a while. Just in the second half, really the talent of the depth chart really started to show. North Dakota State is just a deeper team, and they're arguably the deepest team in this series here in season number 1. So I mean, Sacramento State, they gave a good effort. They didn't get completely blown out of the water. We at least didn't have to like stop the recording early, something like that, and maybe show like a little snippet of like the box score. So at least it wasn't that. But North Dakota State, they're gonna win big, winning 31-7, convincing victory. And look what North Dakota State does with the rushing attack. Negative 20 yards rushing from Sacramento State. That's insane. That is just absolutely insane. And North Dakota State gets the win because of it. So with only one more game left to check out, let's go ahead and check out some scores around the FCS for some notable action around the league. Starting with our custom coach guys, Morgan State went on the road to play up against Akron, and it didn't end very well. Akron winning 38-9 with Dion Kirby in his debut season at Morgan State, falling to 2-5. As for South Dakota State, led by head coach Justin Faith, they went on the road to play against the number 10 ranked UNLV Rebels and lost pretty badly. Couldn't get a stop on defense, losing 49-17. For Utah State, they try to continue to move through LAC action pretty smoothly, and it did exactly that, taking on Stephen F. Austin. The Lumberjacks can't pull the upset, losing 38-10 and falling to 2-5. As for Western Michigan, they get themselves back on track a little bit, going on the road to play against the Illinois State Redbirds, who still are seeking that first win of the season. And Western Michigan delivers with a huge 49-3 victory. Illinois State only field goal coming in the first quarter. As for San Diego State, they prove why they're still the number 1 team in this FCS universe as they beat Omaha at home. San Diego State easily winning this one 56-14. As for Northeastern, they actually notch up their second win of the year. They went on the road to play against Charleston, and Charleston was not ready for it, losing 42-6. Northeastern getting their second win of the year, while Charleston does fall to 1-5. Eastern Carolina also went on the road as well. They took on the Richmond Spiders out of Richmond, Virginia, and East Carolina will win 35-18. Richmond will fall to 3-4. As for the Buffalo Bulls in the MAC Conference, they played against another MAC opponent in Western Illinois. The Leatherbacks could not pull the upset as Western Illinois falls to 1-6 after a 30-14 loss to the 20th ranked Buffalo Bulls. That being said, though, we are not without an upset as we had a rivalry game between UL Lafayette and the Mid-Tennessee State's Blue Raiders, and the number 4 team goes down, losing 31-14. The Raging Cajuns now improving to 4-3. As for San Jose State, they hosted the Oral Roberts team that still has not won a game yet this season, and they're still looking. San Jose State blowing out Oral Roberts 38-7. The basketball school still looking for their first win. As for North Texas, they actually went on the road to play against Southern Utah, and North Texas taking care of business, winning 33-6. Southern Utah now falling to 1-5. As for Temple, they had a little bit of an upset bid from Delaware, the Blue Hens giving everything that they had, but Temple, with 21 unanswered points in the fourth quarter, win 45-31 and improving to 8-0. Eastern Michigan also proving why they're a top 5 team as they hosted Indiana State, and it was a blowout 53-10 victory for the Eagles as the Sycamores of Indiana State still search for their first win. As for SMU, they get back on track after a loss to William & Mary last week. They went on the road to play against Villanova and win 50-3. As for Idaho, they also take care of business as well. They hosted Northern Colorado as the Idaho Vandals, who was an original FBS team that went down to the FCS level, they win 49-10 in this one. As for Kent State, they actually blank Southern Illinois as the Kent State Golden Flashes improved to 5-2 after a 42-0 victory over the Salukis. Arkansas State also looking to move up in the rankings a little bit as they win 36-18 over Florida Atlantic. the Indians of Arkansas State, now improving to 6-2. So the final matchup of the episode features two teams from the new look ACC conference, the Hampton Pirates, who are 2-4 but a 2-2 conference record, taking on the number 17 ranked James Madison Dukes, who are coming out here. This was a team that, you know, they had the misfortune of going up against Temple on the road. It didn't go well for them, so really curious to see how this team is going to bounce back. How does Coach Montoya get his team refocused, playing a team that's not necessarily as talented as Temple, but this is a team that's in their conference, and you got to take care of your teams in conference play if you want to experience postseason action. I mean, that's just how it is at the end of the day, as Kenny Raymer is not going to be down about himself for too long. Beautiful throw in the back of the end zone. Touchdown, Dukes. And James Madison hops over Hampton, up 7-0 quickly, and call this the Kenny Raymer revenge tour, because Kenny Raymer looking to go off in this one. Beautiful throw down the sideline again. He's already got 67 yards passing here, as we are not even done yet with the first quarter. Halfway done with the first quarter, matter of fact, as we got 1st and goal from the 3-yard line. Jamal Williams in the backfield. We'll see if they go to him for the handoff, no, it's actually the fullback that takes the carry. Call it a not the expert episode, because fullback you coming to James Madison, and it's a 14-0 lead for the Dukes, and a lead that quickly grows as Kenny Raymer, man, on his stuff today. Another touchdown pass for Kenny Raymer. That's, I believe, touchdown pass number 22 on this season versus just one interception. He has been fantastic. So already a 21-0 lead. Hampton not able to get anything going on offense, so they got to, of course, punt this football away, which immediately they return it back, and special teams gets involved as well. They get a touchdown on the board, and it's 28-0. And that's just after 1 quarter of play. We still got 3 quarters left, and Kenny Raymer continuing just his absolute torching of the Hampton defense. And I talked about how we haven't had any serious blowouts in this episode. Well, that might be changing a little bit here. We already see a 35-0 game here, and we're not even through that first half of action. We're not even there yet, and it's going to continue to grow as we get a second special teams touchdown. So 42-0 lead here, as Raymer with a chance to make things shake, but it's not perfect though. Hampton does force a turnover, so something a little bit on the positive side of things for sure. But with that being said, it's a big win. So we made it through week number 9 as we check out the cover of Sports Illustrated, as we see, what happened mid-Tennessee State, the number 4 team in college football, going down in flames. So I imagine that we'll have a little bit of a shakeup here in the polls, although not necessarily at the top, though, as we still have 5 teams receiving first place votes in San Diego State, Eastern Michigan, Eastern Carolina, Temple, and New Mexico State, who are all going to be rounding out that top 5. New Hampshire, though, does move up to number 7 in the country, although I do believe that they are on bye this week. They will have an upcoming matchup against Temple, so that will be a really good one to watch here for week number 11. But of course, we got to get through week number 10 first. That's the thing, right? Checking out the rest of the top 25 polls, not a ton of movement. Seeing some teams move up 3 spots. James Madison, they move up to number 14 in the country, so that's a good look for that James Madison program. Montana moves up to number 17 after just escaping an upset from Weber State. I know they still won by 17, but that game was still incredibly close. The Redhawks of Southeast Missouri State move up to number 19 in the country, even though they were on bye, and Mid-Tennessee State falls down all the way to number 20. What a huge downfall. You absolutely hate to see it. But that being said, we don't have anyone new joining the ranks of the top 25 this week. Although we have a few teams, well, a couple of teams to watch out for that can sneak their way in. Youngstown State and Tennessee State are receiving votes to get into that top 25, but no one dropped out this week. Now, as for the NCAA FCS players of the week, we had some doozies, man. On the offensive side of the ball, Northeastern, they were able to get their second win, as I said, against the College of Charleston. But look what Cedric Murray does, the senior redshirt at wide receiver. 17 catches, 289 yards, and 4 touchdowns. He was absolutely unstoppable, and that led his team to a huge win over the Charles of Charleston. Meanwhile, David Ingram, he was absolutely electric as well. Senior linebacker. His 2 interceptions helped seal the win against Weber State. And those were 2 interceptions that gave his team the lead, and not to mention what they also did, sealing the game as well. So great performance for David Ingram, especially in that 4th quarter. So now we move forward to the Heisman watch as of right now, and Brian Brown is still sitting in first place for the time being. He's been having an excellent season so far. 1,500 total yards as well as 18 touchdowns on the year. He was big against Indiana State. He ends up with, I believe, basically 200 yards of total offense in the game, so he's been huge. Willie Ferguson is up to number 2. Then we got Carlos Montoya, who surprisingly moves up to number 3, even though he had 4 interceptions in that game against North Carolina A&T. His team still won 35-7, and he's been a huge reason why his team is still undefeated and now in the top 10. Now, rounding out the group for this Heisman finalist group, we have Kerry Williams, who's currently sitting at number 4 of a senior quarterback with 27 total touchdowns so far this season. And then rounding out the group, we have Richard Wade, the sophomore redshirt at running back. He currently is sitting with 15 total touchdowns, 716 yards rushing, 141 yards receiving. His team beat Omaha pretty convincingly, winning 56-14. So guys, that is going to wrap things up here for this episode. Next time out, we will have gameplay for week number 10, as we're starting to move into the final third of the season, so I hope you guys are really excited for that. Not only will we have week 10 gameplay, but we'll also check out the conference standings throughout the FCS Dynasty universe, as winning your conference has, I won't spoil it quite yet, but has, let's just say, additional ramifications. So I hope you guys are excited for that episode, and if you enjoyed the content in this episode specifically, do me a favor, guys, make sure you go ahead, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new. This is John J Gaming on the mic signing off, but I'm hoping you're all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.